If you've ever got yourself getting drained by the fact that your competitor is doing things you wish you did or getting the results you wish you got, and you're wondering why they're getting all of those clients and results instead of you, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to Fail to Win, a show where we love to make mistakes and learn from them so you can turn your passion into profits and live life on your own terms. I'm Amy van der Putten from FastForwardAmy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode with simple strategies every Tuesday. So first and foremost, although I am someone who doesn't experience jealousy as much anymore as maybe I used to in my first couple of years, I do think it's something that's really normal to have. It's very human to feel jealous of other people. It's actually just a sign that you're lacking something often. But at the same time, it's also one of the fastest ways to sabotage your momentum. So I haven't made an episode about jealousy, just like purely comparing and jealousy, in a really long time, but one of my highest performing episodes ever of the podcast was Comparison is a Thief of Joy, and all about why does she have what I don't have. And so today what I want to do is kind of like be really honest with you into how I've experienced this throughout the years and how you can stop letting comparison drain you and stop you from reaching your goals, and how you can actually instead use jealousy as fuel to grow faster than your competition. So you and I were both human, and it would be really easy, and I often have this when I talk to people and they're like, oh, I'm never jealous. And although I might also think like, oh, I'm never jealous, I do sometimes get insecure when I see someone else's content, or maybe when my hormones are just like wreaking havoc on my body. Sometimes I'll all of a sudden do find out I'm comparing myself again. And it's just not always in the same way as it's like, oh, I want her handbag. It's not necessarily that, or, oh, I want, what she has. It just might be that your competition is making you doubt yourself and you are feeling slightly triggered by the fact that someone else is getting results you don't have. So basically what I just want to say is don't feel weird if this is something you experience. I also still experience this sometimes, and I've done a lot of work on myself. But I am also like a high performer, and sometimes I do still get insecure, and sometimes I do doubt myself, and I want to do really well for my clients, and I want to build a big brand. So yeah, sometimes it even still hits me, or, you get what I mean, right? So I think if we're looking at how we can stop comparing ourselves and we can turn jealousy we feel, although we don't want to feel it, into our number one business weapon, here's a couple of things we need to be mindful of. So first and foremost, when you look at your competition too much, when you are comparing yourself too much, you're going to start building their brand in your head instead of yours. And maybe she has different strengths than you have. But when you look at her content, basically more than you're looking at your own content, you're going to start seeing everything in their light. And I think even with AI, this has become a really big danger, because now we can use AI to have our conversations, our strategies like that person. I even catch myself on this. I'll be looking at, my biggest competitors. I'm like, oh, their content in that style does really well. Let's have a look if we made it a little bit more like that. This is not what we want to do. We always want to go back to really looking at our own brand. So let's take this as an example. So I sometimes get a little bit of an energy drain because I'm not as good at making things look pretty. And I have a couple of competitors, and I'm not afraid of them in terms of, them getting my clients. But I do sometimes feel like, oh, why can't I make it look pretty like they do, or whatever? And what I then forget about, and what drains my energy, is that I can do things they can't do. And if I would just focus on my own strengths instead of, my weaknesses and what they're better at, it's actually going to be much less energy draining, and it's going to be a lot better. So for example, I have a friend actually who's really good at creating carousels. She makes the prettiest carousels. Sometimes the only thing she does in a day is make one really kick-ass carousel, and that drives her entire business. And she makes them look so pretty. Now, I wouldn't even have the patience to do that stuff. I probably, even if I could, probably wouldn't even want to do it. And I have different strengths. I'm really good at showing up on camera. I'm really good at being authentic and telling stories, for example. And maybe I'm a little bit more extroverted, whereas she's my friend, and I know that, for example, for her, being in a room with clients is really, really draining. So I shouldn't be comparing my content to her content, because our strengths are also different. So just like do a little bit of a self-audit right now as you're listening to this. Are you letting your energy get drained because someone else is better at something than you are? Or are you trying to build your brand like someone else's? whereas you actually have a different skill set, because that might actually be your strength in terms of content and showing up online. And the second danger of this, obviously, is also that we kind of run the risk of becoming a copycat. When we focus too much on what other people are doing, we're going to start forgetting our own voice. Our own voice is going to get diluted more, and this is going to just make our own content much less powerful. So this is also one of the reasons why I actually don't consume a lot of content. Sometimes I'll get these kicks of like, oh, I'll listen to a couple of podcasts. But I also notice that sometimes when I listen to other people's podcasts, on the one hand, I'll discover ideas, which is good, and like ways that they're doing things, and I'm like, oh yeah, that could be good. But I also always need to stay really mindful that the way they're doing it or what they're doing doesn't influence me too much. And I think I see this happening a lot with many of my clients. It's in a really stupid way, by the way, but I will always tell my clients who are in my online business club or in my new Authority Accelerator program, I'll tell them, be mindful when you look at my copy. So let me give you an example. I just created a list of 7 posts to position yourself with authority, and I'm giving it as a gift to everyone who's going to follow my Insta-Lead Blueprint webinar. More on that later. And for every post, I've included examples for me and then 10 different examples for different sectors. For example, for a beauty salon or for a photographer or for a health coach. Because I really want people to realize that I talk about business as a main content pillar. And if you heard last week's episode, by the way, do go and check that out. That was a life update episode. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. But if I'm talking about business and like, oh, today was rough or whatever, someone who owns a shoe store shouldn't necessarily be posting about business because their target audience isn't my target audience. My target audience is business owners. But the shoe store, maybe the target audience is moms of small kids with big feet, right? So this is one of those ways where I see the dilution of someone's authentic voice and the risk of becoming a copycat very easily is when clients start copying their business coach's content, which you shouldn't do because your business coach usually has a different target audience than you do. So yeah, this is why I always try to give different examples to my clients, and I'll jokingly build other types of businesses in sessions just to show them like, let's look at this from a different angle that's not business content. And this always starts with, who are you? What's your mission? What's your vision? And also, who's your ideal client? What is that person up to? Make content for them. And so I think this is kind of like a good tip, but every minute you spend stalking your competition is a minute you're not stalking your clients. Here's what I see happening currently online. So many business owners are posting content, but they are posting and hoping instead of actually posting with purpose. They're creating content that might get some likes, but they're not really getting paying clients in. So if you're also feeling like you're posting into the void, but you'd rather really create content that brings in customers who actually want to pay in full for what you have to offer, my new Content That Gets Clients challenge is for you. I'm going to show you how to show up with confidence and really take a stand for what you believe in, how to create scroll-stopping posts that speak directly to your ideal clients and increase your views, and how to clarify your message so you start attracting paying clients, not just empty engagement. If you want to join me in this challenge and you're ready to turn your content into a client magnet, just send me a message with Get Clients, all one word, or go to the link below and I'll send you all the details to join us. See you soon. And that's the magic. If you can focus more on your clients and on your competition, I guarantee you're going to build an empire in the long run. And so I think the last danger of constant comparison, and this is something I've had the privilege of discussing with my own mentor in LA. So for example, I follow a lot of American business coaches, business gurus, and they will make everything look flawless and amazing. And I feel like there's this trend online right now where online business gurus work 0.01 seconds a day and they glorify that and they glorify that freedom. And I'll always joke about that because I'm like, when do they respond to their clients who are actually paying them for responses? I think this is just one of those examples where there's a real big highlight reel illusion. I think a lot of people lie about how much they work. For example, in the business coaching industry, a lot of people, create it as a badge of honor that they hardly work and you only see them looking their best. You don't see the reality. I know for a fact behind the scenes, for example, in the business coaching world, a lot of people are working a lot harder than they show. And the difficulty with social media is just that even if not someone doesn't necessarily want to lie, they're just not gonna post as many of their breakdowns as they're gonna post their wins. So just be really mindful when you are looking at your competition, that what you're seeing is not actually what's going on. So when you're feeling like you're a failure because you don't have it all figured out, remember they also don't have it all figured out, which is why I recommend you don't look at what they're doing too much and you look more at what your clients are doing, actually. And just remember that, your competition's success, it doesn't reduce yours. The only thing that really matters is that you're working on what you want to do. So how do we know the dangers. We know that it can drain our energy. We know that we run the risk of diluting our voice and becoming a copycat. We really don't want that. And also that, we create this illusion for ourselves that they have it all figured out when we don't. So we don't want all of this. So I've kind of like reframed jealousy for myself. So if I still feel it or I still feel slightly triggered, because again, it would be really cool of me to say I'm never jealous, but I'm not too cool to admit it. I sometimes feel jealous. And it usually aligns with certain parts of my hormone cycle. And I've started looking at jealousy as more of like data on my desires. So jealousy is data on my desires. And usually this means that when I see something and it makes me it gives me that feeling that I can't quite identify until I realize oh my God, this is this icky feeling. Oh my God, this is a trigger. I've started just asking myself, okay, so what about this is triggering me and how can I channel it? So give a personal example. A while back, I saw someone posting really, really cool stuff about mediocre things she did. And it really triggered me. And so I took a step back and was like, what's happening? Why am I so triggered? Is this because I don't want her to have that success? No, because I'm someone who very much wants other women to have their success. So what is triggering to me? And I realized that it was triggering to me because she was making a big deal out of mediocre or just good stuff. And I wasn't making a big enough deal of things. And so it wasn't about her. It was about me actually downplaying something and a secret desire I have to actually play a bigger game in things. And that actually inspired me to host a really kick-ass to do a really kick-ass photo shoot in Paris and to make a really big deal out of launching my new program, because I realized that I was playing small in how I was positioning myself with certain things, and that a lot of people are less good at what they do, but they are just way better at being loud about it. So I was like, well, if this is triggering to me, it doesn't matter what they do. This is about what I'm not doing, apparently. And this is data that is telling me that I have a secret wish. So jealousy might just be the data you needed in order to realize what it is that you secretly desire. And usually whenever then this would happen in the past a couple of years ago, if I would look at, for example, with my brother, I had this once. I remember I was in university and my brother is a photographer, very famous, very successful. And he was shooting a festival in Miami. And I remember being at university, looking at his Instagram picture of the festival in Miami. And I was in that stuffy classroom and I was thinking to myself, why does he get to do this? What about me? And I remember talking to my mom about it and she was like, your time will come. And so I just used it as inspiration. Okay, he's done what I want to do and I want to be able to travel the world for work. And here I am recording this podcast for you from Italy 10 years later, because this is over 10 years ago when I saw that post, right? So I think maybe it's time, if you do struggle with this, use your jealousy as market research. What's resonating with you? What would you like to do more of? Where are the gaps, Where are the gaps between what that person is doing, what you aren't doing? Do you feel good about that? Is that triggering to you? What does this teach you? What does this opening give you? And there could also be stuff that you're like, well, no, I mean, good for her, but I don't want that. This is not my brand. And so I do think what you need to do, and this is where we're going to dive into like my personal system of dealing with competition. So you do need to look at what they're doing sometimes, not all the time. So let me give you my personal system into how to deal with quote unquote jealousy. The one thing I do is when I do feel like people are triggering me, this could be in my personal circle, this could be from my past, this could be, in the industry, I will mute my biggest competitors. Sometimes I really like them as people, but I just don't want to see them on a daily basis when I'm running my business because I don't want to accidentally copy them. Actually, I have a really good friend in the Netherlands, and we're kind of like the Belgian and the Dutch version of each other. And we consciously don't look at each other's content too much. I think for us, it's not necessarily about mindset, but it's actually also about accidentally copying each other. And we've literally voiced this to each other, like we don't want to accidentally copy the other person. But what I usually do, I'll mute my biggest competitors. One, so I don't accidentally get influenced and copy them by accident, because it can happen and we're all in the same algorithm. I remember 2 years ago, one of my biggest competitors in the USA used almost my exact words for a program, and I had actually talked to this person about that program and actually had followed coaching by them. And I remember thinking like, shit, did she steal this from me? And I actually opened up the conversation like, oh, what a coincidence. I'm certain that you didn't steal this, but it's wild how that happens. And I remember her texting me like, yeah, there's only so many words in the online business world, so it does happen. And I think this is also something in the Belgian market. I'm gonna say it, but I think a lot of people think other people have copied them. And I'm like, no, everyone is saying the word freedom. Or it's just, we're all in the same algorithms. We're all getting influenced. So back to my personal jealousy system. 1, mute your biggest competitors. This protects your mindset, your insecurities. And it also holds you back from maybe accidentally copying them or getting influenced or whatever. But the main thing here, I think, is when people are triggering you to just it's kind of like, imagine you have an ex-boyfriend and they made you feel bad about yourself and you still have some heartache from the breakup. Like, for example, me right now, I'm in a really happy relationship, really loving relationship. We've been together for 3 years, but I'm still not looking at what my ex is doing because there's also a lot of heartbreak that's just there still to this day. And it's gotten a lot softer and less noisy and all of it. But on my high vibe days, I just don't want to be bothered. I don't want to see what's happening there because I don't want to be sad. Right? So protect your mindset, just mute them. And then what you can do, because I know, for example, one of my friends who owns a really successful business in the UK, beauty business, it's basically global. She's like, oh no, she's very much on top of her competition. She's like, no, it's really important to know what your competition is doing. And I think especially in the product-based industry, that's more the case. And probably in every industry, but I remember her saying that to me. And I was just ignoring my competition. I was like, this is interesting. She has a completely different view on this. And what she said is, no, you have to sit down and you have to look at what your competition is doing. And up until that point, I'd basically just been ignoring my competition. And this is about a year ago. So I was like, okay, maybe I should have a look at this. And I'm going to be honest, maybe you should do this every week and do 30 to 60 minutes of some research, maybe every month. I don't do this every week or every month. I'm just really good at just staying in my own lane. I'll focus on my clients, on my team. I'm not really bothered by what other people are doing. But what I have noticed, for example, for online marketing, is that it is important to do research in terms of what is working online. So what I'll do is once every quarter or something, I'll sit down for an hour and I'll just look at what is doing well in the industry. Who are my biggest competitors, what type of content is really resonating, and how is all of that going. And again, I probably should do this more, but I also am someone who gets enough ideas just from her own brain. So I don't feel like I need to do it or I need to follow all of the trends. I can just focus on my clients and I'll get ideas from what they're asking me or the problems they have. But yeah, a monthly market scan could definitely be something that you do. So you sit down intentionally, look up your competitors, and then you let go again. And last but not least, the thing I do to protect my peace is I use the Opal app to block my socials at night. So from 8 p.m. until 9 a.m., my socials just get blocked off. So Opal is the app I use for that. I have this on my wish list of podcasts. I want to record a podcast with their founder. So if anyone knows him, just like, hello, send them to me. But yeah, the Opal app makes it really hard for me to unlock Instagram or any work apps for that matter, because our brain is not made to be comparing ourselves subconsciously to other people all the time. Body, money, relationships, like just like all of those dopamine hits in your brain of like seeing other people's shit. We're not made for that, and it's not good for your sleep or just like your peace and quiet. So the boundaries I've put on my social apps, they really protect my mental clarity. And I think if you look at this, it's just that protecting your focus and your peace of mind is just as important as protecting your profits. So I think a lot of people are very conscious of their time management and their focus management. They're like, oh, when I work, I go into deep work mode and all of it. But are we as conscious of protecting our peace? Because I believe, and I actually had a conversation with clients about that yesterday, the more you are mindful of how you recharge and your peace time, your offline time, the better you're also going to perform when you are on. So I really love when I'm off, I'm off, when I'm on, and I will go all the way. Like when I'm recording this podcast right now, I'm not also doing something else, right? I'm just focused on the one thing I'm doing. And as I said that, hilariously, I just checked if this was still recording, and then I got distracted. So remember, protecting your focus and peace is just as important as protecting your profits, and make sure you have boundaries. So before we go, I have a couple of action steps I want to give you, and like a mindset shift. But before I do that, I think we also need to discuss what actually happened at my event a couple of weeks ago. So at my Imperfect event, we have another one, by the way, in end of November. If you want to be there, if you're in Belgium or the Netherlands, I'll link it in the description of this episode, or just like go to our website to find it, FastForwardAmy.com. But so someone in the audience asked me, how do you make sure you're not always online even if you're running an online business? So she wakes up, checks her email, checks her store messages, DMs, and stuff like that. And, I told her, like, you don't actually have to be online all the time. Just, like, protect yourself from stuff like the Opal app. If you had a shop, you also wouldn't wake up in your shop, right? So you shouldn't put that expectation on yourself. But I also think one of the reasons we are online so much, we do compare ourselves to other people, is because we're just really, really badly organized. I just did a survey, over 100 people completed it, and in the survey I asked questions about content and marketing, and over 83% of the people who filled it out said they don't have a marketing plan. When you don't have a marketing plan, that means that there's no content planned out, right? You didn't match, you didn't plan it out. And so then that means you're doing everything last minute. But when you're doing things last minute, you're making mistakes and it's not going to be as good strategically. And this is why it's so important that you create a blueprint for your business where that the content that gets planned in actually gets me leads and sales. So if you're someone who's like, I don't always want to be online, but I do want the benefits of having, online marketing working for my business, I want to gift to you my blueprint for achieving this. This is called my Insta Lead Blueprint, because I'm going to be teaching you my lead methods, 4 steps that I use in order to leverage my authority and get leads and clients in on a daily basis. If you don't want to miss out on this, be fast, because I'm hosting it soon. It's only going to be hosted live. I'm not doing this again probably. I don't like doing things over and over again. So usually I just do a webinar in one sprint. I'm hosting 4 live sessions and then I'll be gone. And you need to watch it. You just need to follow along. I've done it. I've planned it out on 4 different days, 4 different times. So you have no excuse not to be able to be there. And I'm telling you on time. So just message me Insta Lead, one word, on Instagram to claim your spot, or go to the description of this episode, click the link, select your preferred time slot, and I'll see you there. But if you're not at your computer right now or whatever, just message me Insta Lead and choose a time that works best for you. It's going to be really good. And I mean, it contains some things that I wish I knew when I started my online marketing, because Also, by the way, a lot of people think they don't have an online business or whatever, but most people have online marketing, even if they don't have an online business. Because Instagram, social media, email marketing can really work for you if you just set it up that way. Okay, so action steps and closing words. A couple of action steps for you. 1, unfollow or mute people who trigger you. Schedule your competitor research. Don't do it subconsciously, daily. And maybe when you do that competitor research, list up 3 actions that are inspired by them that you'll adapt in your way. So for example, what I talked about was, the competitor who's making a really big deal out of things that I was like a little bit triggered by. It really inspired me to actually take my branding more seriously. And I was like, I get to show up in a bigger way, and I should actually learn from her because she's really inspired me, and then I'll do it my way. I didn't do it her way. And just last but not least, if I'm giving you an action step, it would be, if you do spend time online consuming instead of producing, make sure you're consuming some of your clients' content instead of your own content, because this is going to teach you a lot. Yeah. And last but not least, when you're fully invested in your own game, you barely have any time to watch theirs. I'm going to repeat that. When you are fully invested in your own game, and you're actually busy doing the work that matters for yourself, for your product development, for your clients, you'll barely have any time to watch your competitor's game. And on that note, see you next week, Tuesday. And in case you missed it, unsurprisingly, I'm actually currently knees deep into the launch of My Authority Accelerator, which is a program where I actually teach you how to build a 90-day marketing machine so that you always have all of your content mapped out, planned out, created, and batched for a full quarter. And you can build this whole system and structure for yourself in only 90 days. It took me a couple of years though, and I'd love to teach you. That requires an investment, both money and time, because I'm not giving this out for free. But if you're interested in it, just come to my Instagram, message me Accelerate. I'll have all of my mastermind clients follow this program. I created this inspired by them. This is not a beginner's program. This is a program for an entrepreneur who's already doing pretty well, but who feels like in terms of content and marketing, they're basically just like throwing spaghetti against the wall and it's not actually sticking. So you're doing a lot and you're being fairly consistent, but you just feel like your bank account doesn't really reflect it. And the goal of the program is to have your content mapped out as a system so you don't always have to be online. I remember for me, when I used to host my podcast, I'd wake up on a Tuesday, 7 a.m., sweating and be like, oh shit, my newsletter, or creating my podcast last minute on a Monday. And now I have it planned out way beforehand, and you don't even need a team for this. You can do it with a team, but you don't need a team to use the system. And so I see this with a lot of entrepreneurs. When you don't plan it out beforehand, when you don't batch, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to be less good. You're going to not be as consistent, and you're not going to be attracting your dream clients or be the expert in your sector. And I want you to be the expert in your sector. I know you are good at what you do. I think we just need more people to realize that and to actually book you and pay your worth. So if you're interested in that, message me Accelerate on Instagram or go to the link in the description of this episode and see you there. Okay, we start beginning of October. Bye. But there's a deal on it right now, so make sure you're not too slow. Bye-bye. Hey, before you go, I have something really exciting to share, because in the last year, I have been lucky enough to have clients fly all over the world to work with me. I've been selling out my mastermind programs, and people have just been literally messaging me, hey, how can I work with you? And some would say that's luck, but it's actually not luck. Over a year ago, I decided to build myself a system that would allow me to be offline, plan content ahead, and just get leads and sales in every single day. And for the first time ever, I am opening this up to teach other people how they can build their own marketing machine. So this is called My Authority System. And in 90 days, I can teach you how you can become the go-to expert in your sector who everyone wants to book. We're talking getting premium clients in who want to pay you in full. We're talking premium clients who pay your worth, who don't negotiate your prices. And you are finally going to be the one who gets invited to the podcasts and the events and all of that. Now, this program is only available by invitation and spots are extremely limited. And the first people who sign up will also get a discount. So if you are tired of being the best kept secret in your industry and you want to become the authority, message me invite on Instagram and I'll send you an invite to the closed list, or just simply go to the link in the description of this episode. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on this one.